Have you ever had that feeling? That inexplicable sense that someone significant in your life is standing at a crossroads, and you're somehow part of the path they're choosing? Maybe it's been keeping you up at night. Maybe you've noticed subtle shifts in their behavior, changes in how they text you, or a certain distance in their eyes even when they're right there beside you. Here's what I need you to understand right now. This isn't just your anxiety talking. Your intuition is picking up on something real. Someone in your orbit is indeed making a big decision about you, and today, we're going to unpack exactly what that means, why it's happening, and most importantly, what you should do about it. But before we dive deep into this, I want you to take a breath. Whatever decision is being made, you're going to be okay. Actually, you're going to be more than okay, because by the end of this video, you'll have the clarity and tools you need to navigate this situation with grace and power. Let's start with what you've probably been noticing. These signs don't lie, and recognizing them is the first step toward understanding what's really happening. First, there's the energy shift. You know what I'm talking about. When you walk into a room, something feels different. The person who used to light up when they saw you now seems distracted, preoccupied. Their hugs last half a second shorter. Their laughs sound just slightly forced. It's like they're physically present but mentally a million miles away, sitting in some internal courtroom where you're the subject of deliberation. Then there's the communication change. Maybe they're taking longer to respond to your messages. Maybe their texts have become shorter, more transactional. Or perhaps it's the opposite. They're suddenly reaching out more, but there's something performative about it, like they're testing the waters or gathering data. They might be asking questions they already know the answers to, or bringing up memories from your past together more frequently than usual. You might also notice the future has become a forbidden topic. Plans that used to stretch months ahead now only extend to next week. When you mention something happening 3 months from now, they get vague, non-committal. We'll see, they say. Let's just take things as they come. This temporal withdrawal is one of the clearest signs that someone is reassessing your place in their life. And here's a big one. They're suddenly seeking a lot of outside opinions. Maybe you've noticed them having more private conversations with friends. Maybe their phone has become more protected. They're consulting their inner circle, weighing pros and cons, building a case either for or against continuing things as they are. Physical proximity patterns shift too. If this is a romantic relationship, intimacy might be declining. If it's a friendship, you might find yourself being included in group settings but rarely getting one-on-one time anymore. Or again, it could be the reverse. They might be clinging tighter, almost desperately, as if trying to convince themselves of something. Now let's talk about what's actually going on beneath the surface, because this person's decision isn't happening in a vacuum. Understanding the psychology behind their process will help you maintain your center through this. People make big decisions about relationships, romantic, platonic, professional, or familial, when they reach what psychologists call a decision threshold. This happens when the accumulated weight of doubts, disappointments, or misalignments finally outweighs their investment in the status quo. Or conversely, when they realize just how much you mean to them and need to decide whether to deepen the commitment. This could be about compatibility. Maybe they're questioning whether your values, life goals, or lifestyles truly align. They're asking themselves hard questions. Can I see myself still in this person's life 5 years from now? Do we want the same things? Are we growing together or apart? It might be about capacity. Perhaps their life circumstances are changing, a new job, a move, a personal crisis, and they're evaluating whether they have the emotional, mental, or practical resources to maintain your relationship at its current intensity. Sometimes it's about unmet needs. They might have been hoping for something from this relationship that isn't materializing. Maybe they need more emotional support than you've been able to provide. Maybe they crave adventure and spontaneity while you prefer stability and routine. These unmet needs accumulate like water behind a dam, and eventually, something has to give. Fear plays a huge role too. If this relationship is getting serious, they might be terrified. Commitment phobia is real, and it doesn't always look like someone running away. Sometimes it looks like someone frozen in place, unable to move forward but also unable to let go, stuck in this agonizing limbo while they decide whether to feel the fear and do it anyway. And here's something people don't talk about enough. Sometimes the decision isn't really about you at all. It's about them reconciling who they are now with who they thought they'd be. It's about them standing at their own crossroads, choosing between different versions of their future self, and your presence or absence in their life is part of that bigger internal negotiation. Not all decisions are created equal, so let's break down what type of decision might be underway. The commitment decision. This is when someone is deciding whether to escalate the relationship to the next level. In romance, this might be moving in together, getting engaged, or having the "what are we" conversation. In friendship, it might be deciding whether to consider you a best friend or keep things more casual. These decisions are usually prompted by external timelines or internal readiness questions. The distance decision. Sometimes people decide they need space but not separation. They're recalibrating boundaries, deciding how much energy they can sustainably invest. This isn't necessarily about ending things. It's about finding a new equilibrium that works better for them right now. The exit decision. This is the one people fear most. They're considering whether to end the relationship entirely. This decision typically comes after a pattern of unresolved conflicts, deal breakers being crossed, or a fundamental realization of incompatibility. The acceptance decision. Interestingly, sometimes people are deciding to fully accept you exactly as you are. Maybe they've been waiting for you to change or hoping certain issues would resolve themselves, and now they're deciding whether they can genuinely embrace the reality of who you are and what this relationship is. The prioritization decision. Life gets overwhelming, and sometimes people have to rank their relationships in terms of where they'll invest their limited resources. They might be deciding where you fit in their hierarchy of priorities, especially when competing demands arise. Timing matters. So why is this decision point happening right now? Understanding the catalyst can help you contextualize what's happening. Major life transitions are common triggers. Career changes, geographical moves, health issues, family crises, milestone birthdays, these all prompt reflection. When someone's life circumstances shift, they naturally reassess all their relationships through this new lens. Accumulated disappointments can create tipping points. Maybe there wasn't one catastrophic event, but rather a series of small letdowns that finally added up to critical mass. The birthday you forgot. The times you weren't there when they needed you. The promises that went unkept. None of these alone would trigger a decision, but together, they've created a compelling case for change. External influences play a role too. Maybe someone in their life has been planting seeds of doubt. Maybe they've been watching friends go through similar situations. Maybe they've consumed content, books, podcasts, therapy sessions, that's made them question their relationship patterns. Sometimes it's simply awareness breaking through. People can operate on autopilot in relationships for months or even years, and then suddenly they wake up and really see what's in front of them. This awakening demands a decision: continue with intention or make a change. Personal growth can paradoxically create decision points too. As people evolve, they sometimes outgrow relationships, or they finally become brave enough to address issues they've been avoiding. Their decision isn't necessarily about you being wrong for them. It might be about them finally being ready to be honest about what they need. Now for the most important part, how you navigate this situation. Your actions right now matter enormously, but probably not in the ways you think. First, resist the urge to force the conversation prematurely. Yes, uncertainty is uncomfortable, but pushing someone to decide before they're ready often backfires. You can acknowledge what you're sensing without demanding immediate resolution. Try something like, "I've noticed some distance lately. I want you to know I'm here whenever you're ready to talk, but I'm not going to pressure you." Do not, under any circumstances, become smaller to make their decision easier. Don't suddenly transform into the perfect version of yourself you think they want. Don't ignore your own needs to cater to theirs. This is manipulative, even if unintentionally so, and it doesn't actually help. If they choose you based on a false version of yourself, that's not a real choice. Instead, focus on being authentically yourself, your best self, but still your real self. This serves two purposes. It gives them accurate information to make their decision, and it keeps your integrity intact regardless of the outcome. Take care of your own emotional state. This waiting period is stressful, and you can't control their timeline. What you can control is how you treat yourself during this time. Maintain your routines. Invest in your other relationships. Do things that remind you of your own value independent of this person's decision. Your worth is not up for vote. If appropriate, create space for honest dialogue without ultimatums. You might say, "I sense something's shifting, and I want to understand what you're feeling and thinking. I'm not asking you to have all the answers right now, but I'd appreciate knowing where your head is at." Notice how this invites conversation without demanding conclusions. Pay attention to patterns, not just this moment. If this is the third time you've been in this limbo with this person, that's data. If they consistently struggle to commit or communicate, that tells you something important about what being in relationship with them long-term would look like. Prepare yourself emotionally for all outcomes. I know this sounds pessimistic, but it's actually empowering. Imagine the scenario where they choose to leave or create distance. Now imagine yourself surviving it, healing, and eventually thriving. You can and you will. Now imagine them choosing to stay or deepen the relationship. Feel that possibility too. Hold both futures lightly in your mind. Here's what I really want you to understand. Someone else's decision about you is ultimately about them, not about your inherent worth. Their choice reflects their needs, their capacity, their journey, their fears and readiness, not your value as a human being. You could be absolutely amazing and still not be chosen, because relationships aren't just about individual quality. They're about fit, timing, and what each person is capable of in that moment of their life. The right person at the wrong time is still the wrong person. The wrong person even at the right time is still wrong. There's actually something beautiful about this uncertainty you're experiencing. It means you're standing at the edge of authentic relating. Fake relationships never arrive at these decision points because they stay surface level. The fact that you're here, in this uncomfortable space, means something real has been happening, something significant enough to warrant this kind of deliberation. And here's a truth that might sting but will ultimately free you. Their decision doesn't determine your path forward. Whether they choose to stay, leave, deepen, or distance, you still get to decide what kind of life you want to build, what kind of relationships serve you, and who you want to become. Their choice is one variable in your equation, not the whole formula.